Good morning and happy spring. I am Christina Felchlin, Director of Consulting Services with LedgeView Partners. I'd like to welcome you to today's Dynamics 365 User Group webinar featuring using queues and what's new in Dynamics 365. In today's webinar, we're going to start off with the session with information about our upcoming customer conference. Then we'll get into our feature areas. We will first talk about queues, what a queue is, the benefits of using queues, and routing queues. Our next topic is what's new in Dynamics 365? As you know, last fall, Microsoft released their new Dynamics CRM version, calling it Dynamics 365. Michael is going to share a few of his most favorite features and how to utilize them in your Dynamics environment. Michael will also provide some feedback on the current bugs. As always, we'll answer your pre-submitted questions, and then we'll close out the webinar with our other upcoming webinars. To ensure the best audio quality for all attendees, we have everyone on listen-only mode. If you have a question, please submit those in the question pane of your GoToWebinar control panel. If time allows, we will answer during today's session. If time does not allow, we promise to follow up offline or include it in an upcoming webinar. Like all LedgeView webinars, today's webinar is being recorded and will be available on demand on Monday. All registered attendees will receive an email this afternoon with an access link to the recording as well as the presentation slides. Our customer conference is coming up. We are excited to host our 4th annual CRM conference at the Harley-Davidson Museum in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Come and see what's possible in CRM and beyond with your LedgeView experts. Join us Thursday, May 4th, where 30 LedgeView experts will present on some of the topics. Meet the new Microsoft Dynamics 365, on-premise versus online, considerations on moving to the cloud, customer service, a day in the life with Dynamics 365, what's possible with Dynamics 365 portals, top tips every Dynamics CRM admin should know, and an admin zone where you can meet one-on-one with our consultants, ask them for demos or answers to your how-to questions. We will also host some thought leadership sessions, so bring your decision makers and have them attend one of the following sessions. Gaining user adoption to improve ROI, what's possible, understanding the Internet of Things, aligning sales and marketing to drive growth, 365-degree alignment, going beyond sales and marketing, planning for CRM success, and Got CRM, why you need marketing automation too. We look forward to meeting you in person on May 4th, and remember to register by the end of March for the early bird pricing of $199. It goes up to $299 on April 1st. Now, to get to today's featured topics, I will turn over to Michael Dodds, Support Consultant with LedgeView Partners.
Thank you, Christina, for that wonderful introduction. I hope everyone is doing well today. We have some crazy good topics to cover today, so let's march into the madness. First, we're going to start off with using queues. Many of you may be wondering, what are queues? And why would I be interested in using them? Both are excellent questions that I'm going to cover today. Queues allow you to house various entity records, so leads, cases, opportunities, even custom entity records that need to be assigned and worked on. They can be housed in queues and then sent and assigned out to different users. Every entity that is customizable can utilize a queue. Now, where I say that are customizable, that means there are some entities, usually out of the box, Microsoft-controlled entities that cannot be added to queues because they're very locked down. And queues can be private or public. And what that means is, if it's private, it means only the members can see what's going on in that queue. You may be wondering when would be a time that I would ever use that. If you have a special project or certain access you only want to allow certain people to see based on their role within the company, based on expertise level, you can lock down the queue to only those members. Public is open to everyone. Everyone can see it. And please note, a private queue is automatically created for each new user or team. So when that user or team record is created, they automatically have a private queue set up for them. Now that we know what a queue is, why would we want to use one? Queues, they can automatically create and update records based on specific criteria. Once you set up a queue, there's conditions for record creation. And what that means is, if certain conditions are met, it can update a record, kind of like And what a workflow does, when it meets certain conditions, it updates a record or it creates a new record. You can do that through a queue as well. If you have emails that come in and then a record is automatically created, you can send an auto response using a template directly from CRM to send right back to the customer. You can specify routing rules. You can automatically route cases. You can use workflows to assign non-case entities, so leads, opportunities, custom entities, to queues, and you can use that through a workflow. Routing rules specifically are used for cases, and those routing rules are set up in the service management section within settings. It's a very, very powerful tool. Once you set up those routing rules, you can bulk route cases using the routing rules, and every time you create a new case, when you save it, there's going to be a button that says Save and Route. So once the case is created, click Save and Route, and it will route it to the appropriate queue based on your routing rules. You can prioritize items within the queue, so that way your users are working on the cases that are most important or different items that are most important. Queues are going to hold information about the queue item being worked on. So a case, for example, is going to house pertinent information about who is working on that case, and then that can help you manage your resources. You can also customize the view further if desired. Queues save time. It houses all the information in one area, no hunting. It's going to ensure that emails from customers are reviewed quickly and consistently. And then you can enable queues for workflows and auditing. So this allows you to automate, because with workflows, we know we can automate and do things without any manual work. So this allows you to be even more efficient within your day by using queues with workflows. And auditing allows you to track changes within the queue. So it makes it easier for troubleshooting, analysis of past information about queues, and if you want to make any updates. One very, very popular item within queues is being able to route multiple queue items. So those cases or other entities that are housed within a queue, being able to route those to different users, being able to assign them all at once. The way you would do that is you want to point to a specific queue and then route multiple items. A time where this would be useful is when you have multiple emails that are come into CRM, routed to a queue. You want to review them for assignment and then push them out to one specific person. I'm going to show you in CRM exactly how easy that is. So from here, we want to jump into service, and we're going to go to queues. So from queues, you're going to start on items that I am working on. You can then move to any view in which you have information. In our case, all cases in the selected queues. We're going to change this to a specific queue. That's the key portion of this. So webinar queue. As you can see, we have 3 different queue items that we can assign. If I select all of them and click route, I can now move them to a different queue. So if you have like a tier 2 that you want to route them to, you can just select the queue right here. Or you can select them to a specific user and choose if you want to remove the items from this queue now that you've assigned them out. Please note that if you are looking at all queues, all public queues, or queues I'm a member of, you're not going to be able to do this. It must point to a specific queue. That's all for queues. Next, we're going to jump into what's new in Dynamics 365. We're going to launch a poll here that's going to ask you a question if you've upgraded to Dynamics 365, or if you haven't and you're an online customer, if you haven't and you're an on-premise customer, or if you're not sure. While this poll is launched, I'm going to talk about a few features of Dynamics 365. Updated navigation. If you've attended this webinar over the past about 3 months, you've seen the navigation looks different than probably what you've been using in CRM 2016 or older. Dynamics 365 did a nice overhaul of all of the entire interface, so it looks different and the navigation is a little bit different. Still have the great benefits of navigation, still have everything up in the ribbon, still have all those efficiencies. It's just updated and it looks a little bit different. One of the greatest features of Dynamics 365 is editable grids. I'm going to touch on that in more detail coming up. Business process flows and business rule setup changes, they've been made to be more of a flow, a kind of a graphical flow setup versus command prompts that they were previously. So it's a more visual setup versus a list setup. Still works the same way though. Interactive Service Hub, this was set up in CRM 2016, but they've made some enhancements. You can now email links directly out of the Service Hub and you have an enhanced search. Dynamics 365 now also has Power BI integration. There's Relevant Search, which uses Microsoft Azure technology to give you more controlled and enhanced searching to make things easier and sort based on specific criteria and scoring. And then Learning Path, which you're going to touch on in a little bit more detail as well. Now it looks like we have our responses in, and it looks like a majority of the people have upgraded to Dynamics 365. So I hope you're really enjoying it. I know that there are some bugs that some people have come across. If there are specific items that you really enjoy in the Dynamics 365 environment, like editable grids and Learning Path, there are some bugs around those. Microsoft is working very, very hard to update those in the next release. So if these bugs are really hampering your day-to-day activities, I recommend not using the editable grids or Learning Path at this time until they make those updates. But that update is coming soon. We expect it within Q1, but we do not have a set firm date at this time. We're going to jump back into our PowerPoint presentation and we're going to go into editable grids. Now, editable grids, I'm going to jump into CRM and I'm going to show you how easy they are to set up. But before I do that, I want to touch on a few of the features and some reasons why you would want to use it. Editable grids, the fields that are represented in your grids, so like the My Active Accounts view, you can turn that into an editable grid in which you can simply click. I apologize. It looks like my screen wasn't shared. I apologize for that. So for editable grids, you want to make sure that you set up your grid, so your view, to show all the columns that you may want to edit at any point, because now with editable grids, you can just simply click into one of those fields and edit. You don't have to open up the record, make the change, save it when you're just updating one field. You can just click on the inline editing, update the field, and move on with your day. So it makes your day much, much more efficient, even more efficient than CRM already was making it. Now, editable grids, they support the following features. As I said, in-grid editing of records of that entity, so like My Active Accounts, My Leads, all different types of views. And then those subgrid views within an entity record, those can also be turned into subgrids as well, or editable grids, excuse me. It's supported on the web and mobile clients as well. There are going to be some features that won't carry over, but it is still available on web and mobile clients for editable grids. You can navigate using your keyboard or mouse, which means if you're on a field, you can simply tab over to the next field or next column within that grid. And of course, you can still use your mouse to navigate around as well. Grouping. You can now group your views by owner, by account, by different fields within that within that view, you can group it just like you can in a report. So it makes it even more efficient. Turns it almost into a report within CRM without needing to run a report, which is huge. You can do filtering just like you could before. You can now move columns and resize them just like you could before. There's pagination. There's also lookup configuration. And when I show you how to enable editable grids, we'll go through lookup configuration. There's also, it supports calculated fields and roll-up fields. It supports business rules that you have set up, hierarchical view. And then if you have security roles, it'll enable or disable cells depending on what security role is set up. Now, please note that legacy rendering must be turned off to use the editable grid. So turbo forms must be active in order to use editable grids. Now let's jump into CRM and I'll show you how cool this feature is and how easy it is to set up. So from here, we want to go to our settings, customizations. We're going to turn on editable grids for our entity. So we're going to click on customize the system. It's going to open up and we're going to click on our little arrow next to entities. And then we're just going to click on account. We don't need to click on the arrow over here. It's going to load the information for the account. Then we want to put controls. That's where we want to click. We're going to add control. As you can see here, it's got 3 different options. We're going to click on editable grid and then click add. We want to make sure that we set this up for web. And if you're using phone or tablet, you'd rather use editable grids, so the read-only default grid, you'll change these for phone and tablet as well. Now, lookup configuration, what that does is it allows you to configure what view is going to show results for that lookup. In the past, when you needed to do a lookup field, you would type in the information, click enter or click search. And then if you needed to look up more records, it's then going to pull you into another screen where you select the view and then do additional searching. You're configuring all that ahead of time. So you're just going to click on add lookup and my active accounts. You can change this to the available view that you'd like, the one that you're mostly going to be using. And as we can see here, we have a lookup field in primary contact. Then you choose your default view. So if you want to look at active contacts, you just click active contacts as your default view that's going to show results for. And then you can configure it further. You can only show records where contacts contain the company name if you want to even filter it down further. Then you just simply click OK. Save and publish. Always remember, any changes that you make within Customize the System, you want to make sure that you publish them. So it's going to update the entity. It's going to take just a minute to update all that information because it's getting the editable grids. Then we're going to publish our changes. So it's going to go through publishing customizations, finishing, setting it up, and pushing all those changes out to the system. That's why it's very important to hit publish, because if you don't, you're not going to see those changes reflected within CRM. So we're going to close this out, and we're going to go to sales, and then we're going to go to accounts. And then we're going to have an editable grid. So as you can see here, if I wanted to change the phone number just on one field for this widgets are us, and I wanted to put in our phone number here, I just simply make the edit, click off, and now it's already updated. I don't need to jump into the record. I don't need to make any changes. Everything is saved and ready to go. That lookup field, as you can see right here, click in here, showing our list right here. And then you can search further if you'd like. And if you want to go to this field once you put someone in, just click this little arrow. That's going to pull me right into that record. And that was just finishing saving it. So now it's pulling me into the contact. So that's how great Editable Grids is. You can get into the lookup records or the associated links just like you could before. But now you can make the edits, do the changes without having to open the record, make one change and save it, which can be tedious at times. And again, this can also be done for subgrids as well. So if you need to update a record, an associated record to an account, just go into the subgrid, make the adjustment. You can update 5 opportunities probably in about 30 seconds, where before it might have taken you 5 minutes, saving you a ton of time in the end. The next item I want to talk about today is Learning Path. Learning Path was introduced in CRM 2016 Update 1, and that provided on-screen tips and help. So if you've logged in, or if you have 2016 Update 1, you probably noticed when you log in, a little pop-over screen will come on the right-hand side, and it will talk about helps and different tips. And it will do that for each screen that you go into. Now in Dynamics 365 CRM Online customers, you can create your own custom help experience. You can set up a custom learning content just based on the user's role. So if you have salespeople, if you have a VP of operations, they're going to use CRM in a completely different way. You can customize those training and learning content for each role. And then if you have different orgs, let's say you have 3 different divisions within your company, but the one user is in each one of them, you want to tailor that learning path or that training for each org, because each org is different. You can tailor them to that user for each organization. You can even customize the language. So if you have users in different countries, you can customize the language for different users and in different organizations. You enable this through system settings in the general tab, but please note, users can opt out of Learning Path. So if they don't want to have that pop up every time they go in, if they've done all the learning that they need, they can simply opt out of it. The information will not show. That's all for our primary content today. Next, we're going to jump into some user submitted questions. Our first question from a user is Dynamics 365 really ready to go? We've had numerous problems when testing the new release with sales opportunity, business process flows, not advancing stages. Great question. Dynamics 365, as we stated earlier, is experiencing some bugs that Microsoft is working very hard on to resolve. This particular issue that this customer is talking about, we have not seen as of yet. I highly recommend that we troubleshoot this a little bit further within your system to determine if this is a bug or if something else is going on. Some issues that we have seen within business process flows we've seen them for Dynamics 365 on-premise and online. Microsoft has stated that for online customers, this has been resolved. Our next question, the custom code validator tool that Microsoft suggests we use prior to an upgrade is for 2015. Our previous partner said that because it was built for an old version of CRM, it will not capture all of our deprecated code. If so, how are we supposed to capture this information? Great question. For the custom code validator tool, you want to make sure that that is the version of what you're updating to. So if you're on, say, 2016, going to the Dynamics 365, you wanted to make sure it's on that version you're upgrading to. For on-premise, let's say if you're on 2013, you're going to 2016, you won't be able to run the 2016 custom code validator tool because you can only be one version behind. Your CRM must be only one version behind the validator tool, meaning what you're upgrading to. So if you're trying to jump 2 versions, you won't be able to use the validator tool of what you're upgrading to. That being said, you do not want to rely on the tool solely. It's not going to catch everything. As LedgeView partners, the next steps that we take is to look through the code. Our developers are experts. They have great industry knowledge, and they use that to look through the code to determine if there's anything that they feel will break. And in that case, they make the necessary steps. A lot of people, when they are upgrading, also do a diagnostic. That is something that we offer here at LedgeView Partners, to take a look at your code to make sure that when you're upgrading to Dynamics 365 or to another version, that nothing will break for you. That way we can use our industry knowledge and expertise and any other tools that we have to make sure that it's a smooth transition for you. What to expect in Dynamics 365 for the Outlook web app? We are hoping the web app will supply the capacity to log in to secondary mailboxes and track by being the only instance logged into. Great question. Unfortunately, at this time, you will not be able to log into a secondary mailbox and track while only being logged into one instance. It's not capable on the Outlook client, and the Outlook app will not support that as well. Now I'm going to go over some features of the Outlook app. Before I go into this, I want to make sure that everyone knows if you're using the Outlook app, which is a lighter footprint version of the Outlook client that works on the Outlook web app, so OWA, online, Mac, phones, please note that you must be on server-side sync email configuration in order to be able to use this. That being said, some of the great features are it can link email messages, meetings, appointments right to a Dynamics 365 record with one click. You can add templates right from Dynamics 365, knowledge articles, sales literature to any emails that you're composing. And as I said, these are available on the online web app as well. The Outlook app works with Outlook for Mac and phones, which the Outlook client does not. Please note that not all features will move over to those, but you can at least do a good portion of tracking and regarding emails that you cannot do any of that within the Outlook client as it stands today. You can add a phone call, task, or appointment. You can monitor an email message. I love this feature. So if you send an email message, you can track and see how many times it's been viewed. There's a lot of different tools that you can add as an add-in for your Outlook that can do that. The Outlook app will now do that for you. You can view information about Dynamics 365 contacts and leads while you're working in Outlook. It won't take you out to Dynamics 365. It'll be right there in Outlook. You can view information or open a Dynamics record directly to find out more information. So simply open the record and you can view more information. You can also create new Dynamics 365 records for any entity. So, like accounts, opportunities, things like that. As long as that entity has been enabled for mobile and for multi-entity search. Our next question is, how many updates does CRM go through each week? Microsoft does not release updates on a weekly or even a monthly basis. There is no real set in stone time or amount of updates. We tend to see one true update per version, like CRM 2016 Update 1, and that's a true update, meaning new features, new enhancements. There are times where they'll make updates to fix bugs. So like with Dynamics 365, they're planning to do an update to release bugs. There are times where there's minor bugs that they'll fix that they're not going to send a notification about that updates are fixing. Our last question of the day is, how do you create N-to-one, one-to-N, and N-to-N relationships? This simply means many-to-one, one-to-many, and many-to-many relationships in Dynamics. What are the benefits and the correct use for this entity? How can you cancel or edit the relationship over time? Great question. Before I jump into CRM, I just want to cover quickly what the benefits and uses of these relationships are. One-to-many relationships, tends to be used when you're creating multiple records from one record. So leads creating opportunities, accounts creating opportunities. This relationship has its own unique benefit, and it's called data mapping. So when you create a new record, like a new opportunity from an account, you can pull over information fields from an account and populate them into the same setup fields with an opportunity. What this prevents is you having to recreate data that you've already entered once in the system. Now with one-to-many, it's creating a link back to that one record. So you have a lookup field looking back to that primary or one record. Now on the flip side of that, in the one record, you can see all the different associated records through a subgrid. That's why a subgrid is very, very crucial and a very great tool, because it'll show you all the different records that you've set up for a many relationship. Many-to-one relationship as simply the flip side. So account creating many opportunities, a many-to-one is an opportunity looking to an account. So again, you have that lookup field back to the single record. And then in the single or primary, you have that subgrid to show you the many relationships. Many-to-many relationships, this is a really cool feature that not a lot of people know about. They're used to link many records from one entity that can create many records of another entity. So opportunities and contacts. One great way to use this tool is keeping track of different contacts that are associated to an opportunity. For instance, if you have a primary contact that you work with on an opportunity, but there's a committee that makes the final decision, you can add those contacts to the opportunity and present them in a subgrid. And all you've done now is associated them to the opportunity, and that way you can keep track of it instead of having to go out to the account, look up the contact, get their information. Now it's directly linked. Now within CRM, to set this information up, really you just want to go to customize the system, and I'll show you exactly where that is. So if you go to settings, customizations, and then customize the system like we were before, within account, you're going to click on this little arrow next to it, one-to-many relationships. All you're going to do is once this loads, all you have to do is click on new. So this is exactly where you would go to create a new one, and then you would also update any existing relationship. Just click on it and make any changes that you need right from here. Now, many-to-one and many-to-many are also listed here as well.
All right. Thank you, Michael, for that great content. We had a lot of great Dynamics 365 questions this month. Thank you to all of you who submitted those questions. Obviously, there's a lot to cover with the new Dynamics 365 features, and we were only able to touch on a few in the short 30 minutes. So please join us again next month as we dive deeper into Dynamics 365. Our next Dynamics 365 user group webinar will be on Thursday, April 20th at 11 a.m. And hopefully you're able to attend our webinar earlier this month on Insights, but if you didn't, please visit our news and events page of our website to watch the Insights webinar on demand. On behalf of Michael, myself, and all of us at LedgeView, we thank you for taking the time to attend our user group webinar today. We look forward to seeing you on the next one. Have a great day, and don't forget to register for our CRM conference before the early bird pricing ends on March 31st.